Hello and welcome to Tyrrell's Classic Workshop. We have got something on the incredible-ometer sort of bouncing off the end of the scale here because I was approached a few months ago by the Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust to do some collaborations with them, which is absolutely wonderful and a great honour. And here we are. So they have brought up two original Works Jaguar D-types. We have the short nose car here, which was styled by the aerodynamicist, the genius Malcolm Sayer, who worked for the Bristol Aircraft Company before he worked for Jaguar as their aerodynamicist. He didn't like to be called a stylist. And this was the result. Like a lot of cars, a lot of racing cars, they sort of developed. There was version 1, which was shorter, and then there was version 2, which they realized as the science of aerodynamics changed drastically in the 1950s. They then went for the last 11 D-types, had this long nose for more aerodynamic efficiency, because these cars were they are amongst the most successful racing cars of all time, actually, the Jaguar D-types. Won Le Mans 3 times. This is the prototype car, and this is the penultimate car, the last car of approximately 18 Works D-types. Please forgive the jet fighters flying over. They're doing some stuff at the airfield here at the moment, which is very fitting because that segues me nicely into the fact that Malcolm Sayer was actually an aircraft designer, and hence the fact these look like small aircraft. They are engineered like a small aircraft with riveted aluminium, and the whole car is ultra lightweight. These are the real deal. Both these cars, they are owned by the Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust. They're in very safe hands. They are never going to be in the public domain, sales-wise. The last actual Works D-type, just to be vulgar and talk about money for a moment, this is in the public domain, so I'm not disclosing any secrets. The last Works D-type sold in 2019 for £16.5 million. And we've got 2 of them here. You can do the maths. Quite a lot of money, but that's because they are so utterly, utterly special. So I'm going to invite Neil now to come and join me. Hello, Neil.
Hi, Ian. You all right?
Yes.
Good to see you.
And you're from the Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust.
That's correct, yeah. I'm the vehicle collection manager, so I look after the vehicle collection for the JDHT.
Right, and that includes, of course, these bad boys here.
Exactly, yeah.
So can you, the pressure's on now. You've got to reel off 30 impressive facts and figures about these.
Well, I've actually bought one of our books, so we're not actually historians at the JDHT. We aid people to do research and things with the archives and all of that, and we preserve the cars for people to look at and enjoy. So I've bought my secret book, which was written by one of our volunteers, who is honestly one of the bastions of the knowledge of these cars, so right. You can't get any better. But, I mean, as you've said, this one is the prototype D-type, so it's a very, very important car. It's never left the ownership of Jaguar in the time since it's been built. So when we were formed in '83, Jaguar Cars basically gifted the JDHT all of their collection of vehicles. Right. And that is held in trust to look after for the whole of eternity, and right. to basically make sure they're kept in the UK. And that was an important thing at the time when the trust was formed, because it was the breakup of not Austin Rover, British Leyland before yeah. Austin Rover, and yeah. they were worried about who would end up with all the companies and Jaguar and
the family silver.
And yeah, and they wanted to make sure that no one came in, bought Jaguar, then yeah. sold all the cars off, then sold the company right. back on again. That was essentially yeah. one of the reasons we were formed. So.
Yeah. To protect them, really.
Basically, yeah. I mean, we operate this car still. Both of these cars run and drive. We do use them. We don't race them or compete them. That's not what we're about. But what we like to do is to be able to have them so people can enjoy them and see them in action and hear them and smell them and all yeah. of those good things. Because one of our remits at the Trust is to get people into engineering, not just for Jaguar, but for yeah, all time, generally. And try and encourage younger yeah, people into great. The industry. And one day I hope that someone will be on a podium on an F1 winning Monte Carlo Grand Prix or whatever and say, oh, I got into this because I saw a D-type going around the ring road at Coventry Motor
They
Fest or
saw a
something
Tyrrell's
like that.
Classic Workshop video, I think is the expression.
Oh, yeah, and of course,
Yes.
and of course. Absolutely.
No, I mean so now the crazy thing is this was a very different world in the 1950s. So just to recap, the Works D types also had some privateer counterparts as well. So Jaguar sold some D types to Ecurie Ecos, for example, a racing team. Ecurie Ecos actually had their own transporter at the time. They did,
yes.
Which is more than Jaguar did, actually, I think. And they used to... So Norman Dewis, the famous Jaguar test driver who shaped 1950s, 60s and 70s Jaguars into what they were, and 80s, actually, he used to drive these cars from Coventry to Dover, across on the ferry, like you know, Mr. and Mrs. Bloggs in their Austin Maxi, or what? Well, Austin Maxi wasn't around then. Whatever it was, Standard Vanguard or something, on the ferry, and then drive it to Le Mans, didn't he? Basically,
it's a very Jaguar thing to do at the time.
So you drive, yeah.
It was, you know, William Lyons was famously obsessed with getting the most value out of everything, and you know that's why he made such a good businessman. And so, you know, why waste money on a transporter when you can drive the car to Le Mans and then do Le Mans and win Le Mans and then drive the cars back again? It's incredible, really.
Yeah. So this was the prototype. It's got the 3.4 litre XK engine, which was one of its aces up its sleeve, and these cars were doing. I don't know which one it was. It would be this one, I think. It was doing 192 miles an hour in 1954 along the Mulsanne Strait in Le Mans, if I've got that right.
Yeah, I think this one was a spare car at Le Mans.
Yes.
But obviously this one was tested a lot at Myra, as was the other one. So yeah, when you try and put the context of what you've just said into when you say people were driving around in Austin Cambridges and things like that. That sort of speed was quite something.
Yeah.
And we've got to remember as well, Jaguar's always been quite a small company in the grand scheme of things. And it was almost, I mean, I'd probably get in trouble for saying this, it was almost felt like a cottage industry. And that's what made Jaguar so special, I think, is because they really punched above their weight with this stuff. I mean, you know, this was basically, all these cars came from the XK120, and the idea when the XK120 came out, people realised that they were light because of the alloy body, because of the rationing with steel after the war. The XK engine, it had the chassis from a saloon car in it, so the chassis was big and quite strong and robust, so make great rally cars. And all of a sudden people started rallying them. Yeah. And then William Lyons then noticed, and the team, actually, we're doing good at this, and winning races sells cars, and hence we went on to the C-type.
Sunday, sell on Monday.
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
That was one of the motor trade. There's so much to tell about both these cars. These are extremely famous cars. They both have serious form in terms of who drove them at the time. I think this one actually broke the Le Mans lap record by 5 seconds in 1955. This car, I think this one won the Reims or Reims Grand Prix. 12-hour race, not Grand Prix, 12-hour road race. I mean, we are in automotive royalty here. These are two original examples of one of the most successful race cars of all time.
And we're very fortunate to have examples of these. If we were buying a car now, there's no way we could have afforded to have bought any of these cars.
Well,
so you know, it's incredible.
If they were in the public domain, these would sell for an awful lot of money. I mean, so the cars are here. We're just going to prep this car. It's got a running fault. That's about 2,500 RPM. It's got a bit of a flat spot on acceleration. Unlike the fighter that's flying over. So we're here. I'm going to be doing some work on the carburetors while the car is here. See if we can sort that out. No pressure. We've only got one working day to do this. And then we're taking it, the clock's ticking, we're taking it to Alton Park Race Circuit tomorrow, where I'm actually going to be driving this car So what can possibly go wrong driving an 8-figure racing car? Absolutely nothing. We're going to have some fun with this tomorrow, but in the meantime, we've got some work to do on the engine. I can talk more about the XK engine in more detail, and then we'll get into fixing the carburetors on this car. It's so light, this.
Yeah.
There's no weight in this at all. It's wafer thin. So, yeah. Can you tell me the sort of constructional development, if you like, of the front end of this?
Yeah, but these very early cars, you can see here that everything's welded together. And on the later cars, it was sort of different construction. It was more bolted together, a bit like, you know, like the front of an E-Type, that sort of feel. And the reason being for that was that obviously when you're racing, if you have an incident or something, you want to be able to change components quickly, and if it's welded, it's no good. So yeah, that was one of the things. It was only these very early cars that had that construction.
Right.
But again, as you've said, so with the aircraft flying overhead, it's so perfect because it really does feel like an aircraft under here with all the rivets and everything. It's quite beautiful, really.
Yeah, I mean, everything is riveted. You know, obviously, as you say, apart from the welds, but everything is riveted. Again, just drill the rivets out, interchange.
Yeah.
That's, of course, it's all hand fabricated. And I love the fact that this car is so patinated. It's not a Concours Queen. You know, it's a little bit grubby because the car. I mean, how many 8-figure cars are actually left to be driven around?
Absolutely.
You know, they're all kept in very private collections. They never see the light of day. This is a very different scenario.
There's two ways of looking at it, isn't it? We have sometimes people are surprised with the cars looking like this, and they'll be like, "Well, it's not a museum car. It's not all polished." And it's like, yeah, but we're not actually a museum. We're like a living collection.
Yes,
we're a heritage trust,
and all the better for that.
Yeah, and I personally think we're getting that mix about right, the preservation conservation conundrum, which is always around. I mean, that's one of the reasons we don't, you know, we would never like thrash this car or compete it in any way, because we're trying to preserve it and conserve it. But in the same way, it's a car like this, you can't drive it slow.
Yes.
You know, you can't do 20 miles an hour and at 30 miles an hour. We get asked all the time on events, oh, you'll only be very slow speeds. It's like, actually, that's not really good for this car.
No.
It needs to be able to stretch its legs, but what we're not going to be doing is trying to beat any land speed records in it or anything like that. So,
I just want to talk about something that's just occurred to me actually on this other car. Doing some research, not on the internet. The regulations changed at Le Mans, and cars had to have a full screen. And I think they also had to have the passenger seat, didn't they, the later cars?
That's right, and the door.
Yes, and the door. But because this screen had been made, I think it had been made an inch higher or something like that, it took 3 miles an hour off the top speed of the car. And that's a testament to the genius of Malcolm Sayer, that he actually knew that it would slow the car down if this was too high. But them's the rules. That's the way it was. Yeah, and there's a dent.
There is. If you look on there, you can see on the back there's a slight dent. It's called the Jewess dent there. You can see
yes.
it.
Yeah.
So that was done by Norman Jewess in not that long ago, I think in the early 2000s, something like that. And he was driving it somewhere on the continent, and of course Norman, being Norman, decided he didn't have to stop for the toll booth, because why would he have to pay? And the toll barrier came down on the car because he was tailgating the car in front, and so we've left that. So it's part of the history of the car. It's obviously more modern history, but I mean, as these cars are living, breathing things, and we do use them, we kind of keep them in that. Some people really don't like the Festival of the Speed stickers on this car as well. I mean, we get that a lot with both of them, but we elect to keep those on because it's part of the history of the car's continuing life.
Yes.
So it's not really our aim to keep them preserved in one particular era. The era is right now.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
And you know, if things change with it, then as long as it's documented, as long as we can put things back, that's how we operate them.
And this is, you know, I must stress this again. This is a unique situation. people with the means to have a collection of cars like this, and they quite often don't have one, they have several, are not in the habit of driving them and using them. They are unfortunately mothballed away. They get taken by trailer to a event. The maximum the cars do is roll off the trailer for 30 feet and then roll back in again afterwards. And this is a very different scenario. So it is beyond fantastic to have these cars in the workshop, bearing in mind the history and being able to drive them and actually work on them. This car has had some recent work done by Pearson Engineering, and I think they've done a lovely job of setting
They have,
it up.
yeah. So we've got our own workshop, which is more of a maintenance workshop. It's nothing like your fabulous place here. So we maintain the cars there, but if they need any proper in-depth work, quite a lot of the time we'll take them to people like Pearson's and other specialists. We're working with a few people at the moment to try and put some of these cars back to, after going to sound like I'm going to contradict what I've just said, but these cars over the years have had a few parts removed and changed and things like that. I mean, in the very recent past, sort of like in the 2000s, for one reason or another. So we're working with a few experts at the moment to try and put them back to how they were in the early 2000s.
That's lovely.
And I think that's important, because some of the things like some of the gear knobs aren't correct and some of the steering wheels aren't correct. They've been replaced. And oftentimes the reason for that hasn't always been logged, because they've gone to someone and they've done, we've done this, and someone said, okay.
Maybe somebody unscrupulous wants to keep a D-type gear lever knob as a souvenir.
I'm not going to go down
It wouldn't
that
be the
route,
first time.
But you know, there are a few things on this, originality-wise, on both the cars and on several of the other cars in the collection, that could be improved. So we're just going to work on doing it sympathetically and really consider what we do with the cars, because everything happens for a reason, and the reason that, you know, it might not be the original starter motor or something like that is because it couldn't be rebuilt, or you couldn't get them, or something like that, and so something's been changed. So it's that sort of level we're looking at. But you know, technology moves on, and skills come and go, and what wasn't possible 20 years ago is possible now. So we're looking at how we can best bring them back to how they were in recent times, but without radically changing everything.
Okay. Well, I think, I mean, it's here for a job of work to be done on this car.
Yep.
So I'd better crack on and, yes. All right. Okay. Well, I've got my trusty portable workbench with me here. And I'm just, gosh, I can't get over how light this is. There's no weight in it whatsoever. So we've got a running problem with this car at round about 2,500 RPM. And this is, it's equipped with 45 DCO carburetors, which are incredibly exotic carburetors. These were made in the 1950s, commensurate with the age of the car. This particular car started life with these carburetors on. The other one is a development, and I can talk about that in a little while. But this is more or less a conventional XK cylinder head. It isn't, but it's more towards that way. And the other car has got what's called a very wide angle cylinder head. And I can explain the reason for the difference as we go. But these carburetors are unspeakably precious, actually. And yours truly has to work on them. These, I mean, put this into context. We restored the 6th ever Lamborghini car some years ago, and the original engine was kept separate. We did actually get the original engine running. We had to do some structural work on the cylinder block because of various things that had happened. But I managed to source some carburetors for it, 6 twin-choke vertical downdraft carburetors, which were also a particularly rare type of Weber carburetor. And I was told by Martin at WebCon, the sort of Weber carburetor guru, that those carburetors alone were worth over £100,000 for 6 carburetors. So this really is a responsibility to work on these, which I am taking very seriously. I will not use the expression "what can possibly go wrong," because the stakes are very high here, and I don't particularly want to be in that position. So for once, the humour is going to be put on one side, and I have to do some serious work here with these carburetors. So I'm going to just take the tops off. I have a couple of ideas as to what is causing the fluffiness at around about 2,500 RPM. I'm pretty confident I can find that and get this sorted before we take it to Alton Park for it to be driven tomorrow. So the pressure is on. I've only got a few hours to look at this and sort it out. Good job, I like a challenge. Yeah, that float level looks too low to me. I'm pretty sure that is part of the problem. I'm going to measure them. I have got some data on the DCOE carburetors, limited, but that does look too low to me, that float level. In which case, the level of the fuel in the carburetor will be slightly lower than it should be, which will mean the various jets in the carburetor are not getting fed with the right amount of petrol, because the weight of the petrol in the float bowl actually helps to push it around the various different parts of the carburetor. So it is critical. Okay, we'll take the others off and have a look at them. Well, I've taken the carburetor tops off, and all the fasteners on those have undone. All the nuts have come undone beautifully. We've got an immediate and obvious problem, in that these floats are all at different heights in the float chambers. So these are brass, they're pressed in 2 halves, soldered together like just about any Weber carburetor from that period. But the float levels are all different. And what can happen is, I've mentioned this recently on the Lamborghini Miura carburetor video, it only needs a tiny pinprick in the solder round here, and the petrol actually begins to come through that into the inside of the float, and the float ends up not being a float, it ends up being a sink. So there are modern equivalents of these available, not I think for these carburetors because they're so rare it wouldn't be worth justifying them, at a material called Spansil, which is a synthetic material. It's solid, and that replaces the risk of these flooding. But these are actually all fine. They're all floating beautifully. So we've got a difference in float heights. When I started my working life on Rolls-Royce and Bentley, one of the interesting things that came up as part of my study was mechanical fasteners, nuts, bolts, etc. And you can tell the quality of the last person who was working on something by how the fasteners undo. And one thing that was in the era I was involved, which was Silver Clouds, Silver Shadows, Spirits, if a fastener has been tightened up beautifully by somebody who knows what they're doing, it will be tight enough, but no tighter than that. And it's, you know, you can actually tell, because when you remove a bolt or a nut, it's quite clear that that it is correctly tightened, not leaned on or something like that. But I have a concern here, and obviously these are extremely precious instruments, these 3 carburetors. We've got jets here that I'm going to blow out, and they haven't actually been removed for a long time. And we have, you know, dissimilar matters. These are different alloys. There's Zamac, Mazak, different grades of zinc that the Weber use for their carburetor bodies. And you can get dissimilar metal problems, because these screws, for example, are steel, these are brass. And what should happen if the person who was last working on them, all this to say, they should undo with not a lot of pressure and just a lovely, satisfying click. So, I mean, in extremis, if somebody has tightened this too tight, that slot is not that big, and you can actually twist the whole thing and take the top off it. And again, apologies for these jet fighters flying overhead. Just a byproduct of being on an airfield. Right, let me just try and undo this now. That's exactly the noise we're looking at. And that has just been tightened up beautifully. So I'm going to do this one as well. There we go. Same with that. We could be on a roll here. Look at that. All exactly as they should be. Oh, that one was a little tight. Yeah, there we are. There we are, 6. So what we can do is take those jets out. I'm going to readjust the float levels. The float levels should be, there we go. Yeah, that's all right. Managed to dig out, courtesy of Webcon, original specifications for the Weber 45 DCO3 carburetors, not the later DCOEs. And the float height, the float level, should be 3 to 3.5 millimeters. So, using a set of verniers, which are preset at 3.5 millimeters. This one looks right to me, actually. Yeah, that one is about right. In fact, even that one is a little low. I'm going to adjust all of these. That one is miles out. Dear me, absolutely miles out. And this one here is also miles out, so that is almost right. In fact, it is right, that one, the more I look at it. So we'll use that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. But these two are, that one is way out. Now, in order to adjust the floats, I have to remove a screw here, which goes through. And then there is a tang on the float, which actually adjusts the float height before it closes the needle valve off. And this is trial and error, because we have to build the carburetors, put the tops back on, tighten the fuel pipe to actually run the fuel pump to bring the float levels up so that the needle valves close them off, and then we can see if they're right or not. I have to take them off again. I'll just take this float off, just get the rag underneath, because there may be some fuel coming out here. And again, I'm hoping this just undoes with a nice click. Oh yes, there we go. Exactly the way it should be. So whoever has worked on these last knew what they were doing. There is the pivot pin and the float, if I can get it out, which I can't. We'll talk amongst ourselves for a minute, shall we? There we go. Okay, so I need to bend there. So basically what happens is the float pivots on this, up and down, and that shuts off the needle valve there in the carburetor top. And the other thing I have noticed is there's the tiniest bit of aluminium oxidization clinging to here, so we can clean all this up with an airline. But I reckon, and the float bowl is beautifully clean down the bottom there, which is important. There's no debris in there. I'm going to bend this to adjust the float height. That's the way of doing it. Let's think now. Let me get this right. The floats need to come up, so that needs to come down. There we go. Easy as that, we hope. So I shall do that with the other one, and then we put it all back together. It's, as I say, it's a case of trial and error. There's no short way of doing this. Just make sure I don't over tighten that, and then we'll do the other one. Well, we're in the process of putting them back together now. We've got 3 float levels that are equal. We had real trouble with one tiny little float pivot pin thread, which you and Marcus have rescued, Pete. So thank you for saving the day.
Yeah, welcome. You're welcome. I mean, it's the kind of thing we come across nearly every day, really, isn't it? Repairing these old bits of machinery.
Yes.
They don't always come apart or go back together quite as you would like, and you have to do a bit of first aid work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Offshore repair.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Particularly on something, I guess these are irreplaceable, these carburetors. So even the body, the material that they're made out of is 70 years old. So, you know, we've just got to be super careful with everything. But I think we've got a result. We'll see when we get it back together.
We think we've rescued it then.
We have, yes. Thanks to you and Marcus.
Okay,
Thanks,
no
Pete.
problem. Yeah.
So unusually, because they're in perfect condition, we're going to put the old paper gaskets on because the new ones don't quite line up as beautifully as the old ones did. So we've got all three floats at the right height now. So we can put this back together and give it a try. I'll tune the carburetors, set up the idle settings, etc., and then we can see if we actually have eliminated the problem or not. Well, that was a bit of a marathon. I've done various things, cleaned various things. I mean, these carburetors will never be perfect because they're what are called 3-phase carburetors. So that they have 3 main operating cycles, light throttle, cruise and full throttle. And then the idle circuit is sort of incorporated into them as an independent thing. Later versions of the 45 DCOE carburetors, such as new ones that can be bought, 45 DCOE 152s, for example, just to get really nerdy for a second, actually are 4-phase carburetors, so they have a different phase in to make them behave more like fuel injection, with less transitions in the stages between the different phases in the carburetors. But this one, I'm not trying to make excuses, it should be fine, but they are 1950s technology. So we'll warm the car up now, get the dreaded hose pipe out, balance the carburetors, and then take it for a run and see how it's performing. No pressure. We are driving a at least £15 million market value car on a public road. There can't be many people who have the privilege of doing this in the world now. Whoa, the clutch is interesting. It's a triple plate clutch and it's very heavy. The gearbox is like a switch. This thing is pin sharp. I'm feeling every undulation in the road in it. It is quite incredible. And the engine, you only have to touch the throttle and it's off. Wow. This thing is absolutely nervous and twitchy, and there. It is quite extraordinary. No wonder these cars were so venerated at the time. No flat spot. Woo! I'm very, very happy. I don't know whether the microphone will pick any of this up because it's very windy here. But this This is as docile as a pussycat. I'm just going to leave plenty of room for the traffic in front. I do not want to make this short nose even shorter. This is absolutely amazing. I have never in my wildest dreams thought I would be driving a genuine Jaguar D-Type one day. This is just sensational. It's just inviting me to drive this car fast, but I am not going to do it. No siree, but amazing. We'll just try it again. Watching the rev counter. Whoa, it comes on the cam at about 3,000-4,000. Just an extraordinary, that is quite one of the most amazing road tests I have ever done. Let's get the gearbox sorted out. They're in there somewhere. Yeah, considering this is a race-tuned engine, that is picking up remarkably well. I think we can consider that a tick. What a thrilling experience, and job satisfaction deluxe. That is amazing. Okay, we'll see how we'll see what the Jaguar team think of this, because they're the ones who are used to driving it, not me. Absolutely stunning. The steering is light as a feather and yet so communicative. It's just, the whole thing is just on another level. People have told me who've driven these cars that they are amazingly beautiful to drive, and I thought, yeah, whatever. No, it is amazingly beautiful to drive. What a machine. Simply fantastic. Looking forward to driving it at Oulton Park tomorrow. It's just like a creature that is in its natural habitat. It can't be described any other way.